4, 3. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I am your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from the Smut Studio in Venice Beach, California, with my co-host this afternoon, Tug Coker.
Hello, Andy.
Good afternoon, Tug. How are you?
Doing really well, thanks. I'm in some corduroy pants. I'm a little warm, but Nick is very cold.
A little chilly here.
It took him 7 weeks to become a true Los Angelino and be freezing cold at 55 degrees.
You know, when the window's open, the fan is running, you know, it gets a little bit chilly here in the Smut Studio.
You are right. That is the official way to become a member of this city.
So not guacamole.
It's complaining about 50-degree weather being freezing.
It's actually 64 right now.
Okay, so 64.
64, completely sunny. He closed the window. He's wearing his, what do you call this?
My babushka. It's actually only 61.
Okay.
I told him not to fear, though, because this week,
Hey.
just for Nick, they're going to put up the mid-70s, high 70s.
Thursday, 78. Can't wait.
Everyone who lives in a bad part of the country is currently giving all of us
Yeah, the collective
a giant middle finger.
middle finger, yep.
Sorry, Mom.
I met Nick's dad last night.
Wow. You guys have you've been dating, the dating's going so well.
Yeah.
that
Finally
you're-
met the parents.
Yeah.
I met Ron. Ron's a legend. Great man. Obviously, he produced a great son. We had some food at La Cabana,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just talked forever.
And it was easy, free-flowing conversation.
Really free-flowing.
Could he be a guest on the show?
I'll ask you, Nick.
I mean, you heard him last night. I think it'd
What
be
was
a
the
great
hottest
interview.
take from Nick's dad?
Well, we talked everything from music to comedy to the show, and his.
I'm a big Gallagher guy.
You know what his dad is?
No, tell me.
You threw me off for a second.
I
there.
know, I can see. Nick has no clue who that was, by the way.
When I told his dad,
Watermelon guy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Ah.
when I told his dad that like Don Rickles is one of my all-time favorites, his dad
Freaked.
face lit up. He looks at Nick and he says, "Did you tell Andy this?" Like he was surprised that how much I loved Rickles, and he has. And I'm not going to tell the story. He has an amazing, very personal, one-on-one story dealing with Rickles.
Wow.
It's pretty awesome. Like it's. I'll be honest. It's one of the cooler stories I've heard about him or about somebody going to see a show and kind of what happened. And it also, in a way, it didn't surprise me because everything I've heard about Don Rickles, and there was that great documentary called Mr. Warmth of he was a roast comic, but he was just the sweetest man. And it was a great story, and it basically justified all those great things you hear about him, which is a great segue into later in the show. We are going to be doing a segment, which you recommended, of our top 10 movie comedies of all time.
This was trending around some sports media Twitter last night, and someone said, just to tease it, someone said, The Hangover is definitely in the top 10 comedies of all time, right? Not debatable?
Yes.
Question mark? To which we said, let's debate this thing. But you know what? I actually want to do a quick transition into something that's off topic because you talk about people that are sort of have an edge to them but are known to be warm off camera, off the court, off the field. The Kobe tribute
Okay.
that's going on today.
Yeah.
Now I know you have a take where you didn't watch it for reasons that are your own.
Yeah.
I don't know who's been out there watching it. I found it to be really interesting, fun, therapeutic. Some great speakers. Michael Jordan was on there. He was bawling, and he referenced the crying Jordan meme. Shaq gets in there and makes some fun jokes about their relationship. It was really cool. I mean, a lot of Gino Auriemma, some Diana Taurasi, and what I thought was interesting is the opportunity that some of us just kind of admire Kobe or whatever. Not even admire him, just watch him play basketball, whether or not you're a fan or not. But today, his wife spoke for about 20 minutes about his daughter, very lovingly. And if you're a dad, like I am, it was very touching, and you empathize with that. But also, she talked about Kobe, the person, and you learned a lot. It was really interesting. I mean, I just thought it was fun. I wish there was ways to do this more without people having to pass away.
Yeah.
You say that all the time, and I know that's something that you've gone through, recently. But I thought that was interesting. I was like, man, I wish you could just celebrate these people more. For instance, you learn that Kobe was a fan of Survivor, and he started playing tennis passionately. That was one of his sports passions, and he was they were quoting The Notebook, and there was just all these little unusual and just kind of quirky little things. You're like, oh, this guy's just like a regular dude who's infinitely rich.
Yeah.
But he seemed to have turned a corner post basketball to being a great dad and sort of, and every single person to a person was he was always quick to congratulate, text, when someone did something, positive. And I know that's something that, you're good at. So everyone can have their differences. I thought it was a nice way to, for people to commemorate Kobe and show some healing. And that's all I want to say.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
And I think that as much as someone like Joe and I will harp on the media-driven narrative on Kobe's career, I think also maybe some of the things that we have had issues with him could also be driven. Does that make sense? We don't know the guy, and I think it's good to hear things like that. I agree.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was just kind of you obviously there's a lot of sadness, but there was, you always find the quirky things funny, that the fact that his wife mentioned that he loved watching Survivor.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Survivor producers were pulling that clip. That's amazing. And it's just a fun, we just watch as a reality show every other, human on earth, has a guilty pleasure show.
Yeah.
And I just, and social media is supposed to be that, but social media has turned into, let me show the perfect side of me.
Sure.
So much of that. And it'd be fun to watch people just kind of do hey, I'm just a dork like everyone else who watches, some Friends or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
the normalization of a human.
Yeah, and there was so much talent in the room. I mean, just to look around the room. We were watching the boxing the other night when you were doing the star sighting. This was to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Michael, Shaq, Phil, Russ, Curry, Clay, Jennifer Lopez, A-Rod, Alicia Keys, Beyonce sang off the top. So it's. I mean, I guess they planned it just because it's 2/24 today, so they wanted to tie it around the 24th. And they also did. It's a Monday morning service. So, but anyway, I just want to comment on that.
Yeah. Well, how long was that lasting?
It's still going. I think that's the one.
It just ended.
Okay,
I'm live on YouTube right now, and they're panning out of the Staples Center.
The one negative I say was I'm not a negative. But I mean, people who probably went for the day were this was amazing, but it was 4 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know how often. I've been to several funerals, and they're not 4 hours.
Sure.
But that was, like I said, I just thought that was cool. Rob Pelinka, who is the GM of the Lakers, is his best friend.
Because he used to be his agent.
Correct. And they had some great conversations and talked about the last text he received was from Kobe, about how can he get a baseball internship for one of the girls on his daughter's baseball team. So, anyway, I just wish there was ways to find more the humanity in all these people. But that's my Sentimental Monday. Nostalgic. Waxing nostalgic.
Well, I like it, Tug. You always bring an interesting and different perspective when you're on here, and that's good. We like that.
Yeah.
And in a nice segue, we can hop into some NBA. You wanted to discuss Lakers, Celtics. Great game yesterday. Also,
really good game.
Also at the Staples Center. Jason Tatum becomes the youngest player in the Lakers-Celtics rivalry as far as age-wise to score 40 points, which I think is a pretty cool stat.
Pretty long time rivalry, right? 203 games, I think. It's now 102 for the Lakers to 101 for the Celtics. I mean, this is the
top 5 all-time sports rivalry.
No doubt. Rafa Nadal being number 1, of course. But
Federer, Jokic.
Djokovic. Jokic from the Nuggets.
Yeah.
That rivalry is one-sided.
And to be honest, when it comes to these rivalries, I think, take for example a Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. I think it's diluted because they play so many damn times. What I like about something like the Lakers,
and it was one-sided for a long time.
What I like about this Lakers-Celtics is not only, like you're saying, it's very evenly matched, but also they're in different conferences. They only meet twice a year unless they play in the finals. To me, it enhances a rivalry. And to be honest, that's kind of nothing against Duke, UNC. In a way,
You put that in the top 5 though too, right?
I would, but also they play 3 times a year a lot too, and I don't know. I love rivalries where you're not playing as much, but this rivalry is great.
First game of the year, and I've been watching some NBA but I felt like this had playoff atmosphere going.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, very competitive. Lakers came out to a nice lead. The Celtics, who are on my team and part of my diaspora of teams. No Kemba yesterday. I did not love Gordon Hayward's play yesterday. He started off strong, but made some like weird. I don't know if you guys were watching crunch time passes like over the heads of people. Like he becomes a guy that like I don't know if the Celtics are going to be willing to trust in the crunch time going forward. But the biggest thing I think about is the Lakers. I listened to Bill Simmons last night, and I was surprised. They asked if the Lakers are actually underrated. I think that's interesting because I watched their closing 5. I think you and I have talked about it before. Their closing 5 was LeBron, AD, KCP, Rondo, Kuzma. If you put LeBron out of that equation, I don't know how good this team really is. It's another testament to how great LeBron is as a player. Because really, without LeBron, they're just the Pelicans with AD on it.
I'll say it right now, and AD's great, and his numbers back it up. I think without LeBron, I don't know if they're in the playoffs.
I think that be the 8th seed. I think you and I were in text chain with Joe.
They're on the cusp.
They'd be around the 8th seed.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree.
And obviously that the pick and roll is so tough, and the Celtics are one of the few teams that can defend.
Yeah.
AD and LeBron in a pick and roll because they got wings that can guard switch. They can switch. But I still wanted to know that they're one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the league.
Not good shooting 3.
Not great from the 3. They haven't yet picked up. They picked up Markieff Morris.
Yeah.
The lesser of the 2 Morris-I. Is that right, Morris-I? The 2 Morrises.
What about Zach Morris? You just worked with him.
Yeah. He's the best. He's the best of the 3 Morrises.
He's the best of the Morrises, as we know.
The longevity of the career, incredible.
Great hands. That episode of Saved by the Bell when he acted like he was Jewish, remember? And then he went to the Dodgers game. Do you know this episode?
I don't remember this.
It was a big episode. He faked that he was Jewish, I think on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, one of the Jewish holidays, and his high school teacher was Jewish, and there was footage of him catching a ball at the Dodgers game. Yeah.
Does that episode that storyline make it to air in 2020?
It's a great question. I say no.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think also no.
But he learned a lesson.
Or, you learn a lesson. I was talking about this.
So this was the lesson where he learned that Zach Morris then learned that he had some Native American roots.
Okay.
But then he doubles down and messes up. This is what would not air. I actually rewatched a bunch of these in the last 3 or 4 years. He then shows up to class in a full Native American headdress. The face paint. You get canceled for that.
That's 100% cancel. Speaking of some dicey situations with Saved by the Bell, they're doing a reboot.
They are.
For the Peacock, which is the NBC streaming series. It's we don't have enough streamers out there.
Yeah.
If you don't already have Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu, Amazon, you can get Peacock. They're making a reboot of Saved by the Bell, but Lisa Turtle not invited.
Well, she's white now.
Well, I don't know what's going on with her personally, but I know she's.
Have you seen her skin?
I've seen the peroxide blonde.
It's
hair.
sad. It's sad.
So, for whatever reason, wasn't allowed back.
Lark Voorhees, is that her name?
That's right. And I was a big Lisa Turtle fan.
Me too. And in fact, one of the hottest debates, I think I've said this on air, one of the hottest Ruther brother debates was always, who's the hottest girl on Saved by the Bell? You think instantly you're going to go Kelly Kapowski. But once you start debating it, it's a tough call.
Tori came in there for a minute and made a little.
Never.
You weren't a Tori fan?
Never touched the Ruther brother list. It was either Jesse Spano, Lisa Turtle, or Kelly Kapowski.
Yeah. Yeah. So using this analogy, who are the 3 NBA teams that are the Lisa Turtles, the Kelly Kapowskis, and the Jesse Spanos in your mind now?
That is a great segue, Tug.
Thank you so much.
The Los Angeles Lakers.
It's who? For you.
Maybe the Kelly Kapowski.
Okay.
The The Bucks, I would say, are the Jesse Spano. Although Jesse, can go crazy. Remember the "I'm so excited."
Oh, yeah, she starts crying.
She starts crying.
Oh, yeah, pounding the chest.
She's hooked on caffeine pills.
I think that's more Clippers to me.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, because we don't know what we're getting with the Clippers right now.
The Clippers are Jesse Spano. And maybe the Bucks are Lisa Turtle, a very attractive, stable team, but doesn't always make it as far as they should.
Yeah, and like why are we not loving them a little bit more?
They have the best.
They're dominating.
Best record by far.
Yeah, but what's holding us back? That's maybe the Lisa Turtle, the Jesse Spano, the Clippers. I think I'm not sure what's happening with the Clippers right now. I mean, everyone still seems to love them. They keep adding pieces. They added Reggie Jackson recently. They added Marcus Morris. Do these pieces fit?
They're the deepest.
Is another question. Paul George has not been healthy.
Yeah.
Are they going to find a way? Do you think there's any regrets from Kawhi being like, maybe I should have stayed in Toronto and we could do it again?
Well, it's an interesting question. And Joe and I talked about this last episode, their depth and how, on paper, if you match up, like, let's say, the two LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers, on paper, the Clippers are probably a better – they are. You just said the Lakers' Final Five yesterday against the Celtics. The Lakers are not as deep or as talented, but it's all about playing well together, as you know, and we're kind of seeing that. Is this a team where all year, and you see this in sports, everybody says they'll figure it out, They just never figure it out?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, it's a short window someone reminded me that the Clippers gave up 7 first-round draft picks to make this Paul George trade happen.
7.
Nick, you might want to have to check that out for me. But I'm sorry, you're not Aaron? You're
Well,
not Stat Boy?
Well, I'm just kind of looking up all the famous Morrises right now. Markieff Morris, the third most famous Morris.
Did he give you a look when you asked him to look that up?
There was an eye roll.
Was there? I can look it up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's cut the videotape on YouTube of the eye roll. Go ahead and roll that.
We do need a Nick cam.
Yeah, 100%.
A Dale cam. We need I would love that especially if we had a visual of this outfit that you have today.
Yeah.
Is that a family member, D'Alessandro Steak and Hoagie?
This is D'Alessandro's. It's not a family member, but it's a Philly cheese steak place in Philadelphia.
Love it.
Can only wear it when Joe's not here, so I thought I'd bust it out.
No, Joe. Here's the thing about Joe. Joe, big anti-Philly,
very pro hoagie,
and pro cheesesteak.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think you'd be just fine wearing that.
So yeah.
Well, just to put a button on this discussion of the NBA, as Nick ranks the Morrises, the Lakers game was it was an awesome game. The refs were a big problem, and the refs continue to be a big problem in the NBA. Like, basically destroyed what I thought was an awesome game, with some dicey calls, a phantom out of bounds call. So if the Lakers are destined to win, if people want to do that. If people want to buy into conspiracies and say they're going to win for Kobe this year, and the refs are going to definitely help them.
And obviously the NBA has a history of refs fixing games.
Yep. The Celtics, to me, are one of the teams that actually can give – they blew out the Lakers 3 weeks ago, played them tough without Kimba. I think they're probably a big man away because they don't even play Enes Kanter when they play the Lakers. And Daniel Tice, played really well.
He did.
But I think they still need one more big piece.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to get that. So they were counting on the Robert Williams, the guy they drafted a couple years ago. His nickname is the Time Lord.
Very questionable technical at the end of that game on Brad Stevens, too.
Luckily, ball don't lie.
Anthony Davis missed the free throw.
Yes. And he's an 85% free throw shooter, but he also missed a big free throw in the All-Star game.
Correct.
So, to me, I think the Lakers are the team to beat coming out of the West. I still like the Bucks, and I probably would give the Celtics a fighting chance. I don't know about the Raptors.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Sixers are – who knows right now? The Sixers are just still trying to – it seems like there's a lot of internal turmoil going on with the Sixers.
The Sixers are Screech.
Are they a villain?
They are Screech.
You don't know what you're going to get. The Sixers are Screech. Yeah. He's they're either Screech or they're Violet. They're Tori Spelling. Remember that? Do you remember that?
She crossed over?
Tori Spelling before 90210 was the nerdy Violet.
Oh, I remember pictures of this, but I don't remember the storylines for her.
I'm a little surprised at your lack of Saved by the Bell knowledge.
I should have studied up before I worked with them.
Yeah.
On our episode of Mixed Dish, which you can check out now on Hulu.
Great plug.
Thank you.
What do we got over there, Nick?
Thunder will get LA's unprotected first-round picks in 2022, 2024, 2026, along with 2021 unprotected and a protected 2023, and then a swap of the Thunder and the Clippers in 2023 and 2025. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 draft picks.
7 picks for a guy who's missed 20-plus games this year.
Also, Danilo Gallinari.
And I think the guy they traded away, who reminded me of
Gilgeous Alexander, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yes. He's budding. He's a budding star in the league.
So are we starting? And again, he's gotten so much praise, deservingly so. Jerry West. Are we questioning this move?
It's really funny. I'm glad you brought that up because he is so well respected within the ranks of the NBA, and it is such a win. I mean, this probably came from above, right? This probably came from the owner of the Clippers. Remind me of the guy who just yells and screams.
Steve Ballmer.
Thank you, Steve Ballmer. They're just like, we got to have this.
Who I'm not a fan of, by the way.
Steve Ballmer.
Wow.
That's why we have Nick on the show.
So that was good.
Love it. If that wasn't an Andy Ruther-esque joke, I don't know what is. Nick, I apologize. I've rubbed off on you.
You guys are spending so much time together.
In a bad way. That's a bad way.
But yeah, I mean, I think most people now are looking at this Clippers team as a 2-year team, Paul George and Kawhi, and then Kawhi gets to leave scot-free and leaves all the collateral damage with the Clippers. The Clippers basically have to come out with something the next 2 years, or they could be the Clippers of the 90s, 80s.
And they will. I'll double, triple, quadruple down on whatever I said. Until the Clippers make an NBA Finals, I like to bet on history. History says you are still the Los Angeles Clippers. I laugh. I always point this out to Nick when we're in the car. I still laugh. If you go in this town, if you see the billboards for the Clippers, it's so funny. The Lakers have never had a billboard ever because they're the Lakers. They don't need to advertise. If you drive throughout the streets of Los Angeles, there's these Clippers billboards everywhere. You've seen them, right? It'll have Kawhi. It'll have Paul George. And they're taking a dig at the Lakers because it's all about the we and that the Lakers are more of an individual team.
Slogan is we over me.
Yes. Which to me is funny. So that's the slogan that they're putting out in the city is that we over me and that they're selfless and that somebody like LeBron or Anthony Davis are selfish, which I think is not a correct narrative. Don't you think that's the dig that they're trying to take? Isn't that a subtle dig at the Lakers?
I think you're right. I think you're onto something.
We over me.
Mm-hmm.
What else is that addressing?
Maybe is it like a reference to the old Pat Riley reference, which is the disease of me? Maybe that's in the Lakers culture. I don't know. Maybe it's a jab at Hollywood culture. I don't know.
Yeah, but they're still in Los Angeles. That's where I'm all confused.
Yeah.
But I just look. Again, obviously I could be wrong, and I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm betting against the Clippers come playoff time, which means they're going to win the title.
I mean, the Clippers, I think, are the 3 seed right now, and they could face – I mean, they might have a tough first-round opponent. I mean, it could be the Thunder. It could be like a fun, poetic justice with the Thunder trying to oust the Clippers with all those draft picks.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was excited yesterday. It's one of those games where you kind of come home – and you're dialed in, and people are excited. You see guys playing hard. LeBron hits a big jumper, a nice little fadeaway.
That's a tough shot.
Big-time tough shot.
And that game was at noon our time.
Yeah. What's
the mindset for a player? I always think about that, these noon games. It's just a weird time to have a start for a game. Noon on a Sunday.
I said this the other day, too, and you guys mocked me for it.
Because I said 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, but
it's a little different.
Noon, L.A. time.
Yeah.
I noticed I said that a lot. It's L.A. I call it L.A. time, but it's the whole West Coast.
I'm willing to guess that's not that big a deal for them because they probably have practices that are in that same window of time.
Yeah.
So it's a schedule that they're probably used to dealing with from a practice standpoint. So, it doesn't bother them. It's maybe more of you might be talking more about the East Coast teams traveling west, like the Celtics having to deal with a noon start, but they've been out here for a few days. Anyway, Lakers Celtics. I would love to see that again. I mean, it's amazing how these franchises kind of find ways do we see that much in the NFL? Like right now, it's the Patriots. The Patriots weren't around 30 years ago. The Steelers kind of, as Nick knows, finds a way to kind of reinvent themselves. In each decade. Cowboys have obviously struggled since the 90s.
Yeah.
Do we have any of the Lakers Celtics-like teams? The Niners, I guess, are sort of that comp because they've been able to.
Well, I think you'd probably agree. It's really good for the NBA, in my opinion, when you have a good Lakers-Celtics rivalry.
I agree, but I think it's also good when the Cowboys.
I agree
are
as well.
Good. We want the big-time franchises to be great.
I agree. I totally agree.
But the Lakers and Celtics have done a good job.
Well, and there's just a different vibe. Nick was saying yesterday, as we watched the game here in my apartment, and he was rooting hard for the Lakers, and he was saying he wants the Lakers to win a title because it's fun to live in a town when a team wins. And I told him my first full 3 years in L.A., the Lakers made the NBA Finals. They lost that one to the Celtics, then they beat the Magic, then they beat the Celtics. And it's a fun vibe. As you know,
it is.
Living here. When a team wins a title, and the same way when the L.A. Kings have won 2 titles since I've been here, it's a fun vibe when a...
You really just use the Kings as the vibe of L.A.?
I mean, look...
shout out to the Kings, but
But I'm just saying...
You don't feel the ripple effect of the Kings wins going through L.A.
Yeah, obviously you don't feel the Kings effect as much as the Lakers. But I even remember, that first Kings title when they were in an 8 seed, and... See if I'm right or wrong. Was Jonathan Quick who went on that amazing run as the goalie?
Jonathan Quick was.
Yeah.
I don't have to fact check that. I know that.
So when Jonathan Quick went on that amazing run as the goalie, I think that was 2000.
I believe 2017.
Or 2014, I think was their first one. I could be wrong on that. But I remember that night. I was going to a house party that night. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? The vibe.
Absolutely.
That night, I was going to a house party in Silver Lake. So all the way across town. You feel good. That's all I'm saying.
You do feel good, and I'm not trying to make light of the Kings.
Yeah.
Only in the sense that the Lakers is it's like the Marvel characters.
Sure.
It's a different level.
This town for sure
This is Lakers town number 1.
It's Lakers then Dodgers.
Yeah.
100%.
It used to be USC football, but that is a question for another time.
Yeah. Well, I want to continue with one quick NBA discussion, which I found very interesting, and I know if Joe Praino hears this, he would be chopping at the bit to be here. But it's a very interesting take about Carmelo Anthony that I'd love to hear your opinion. I'm actually going to play a lot of this interview.
Let me hear the clip because I'm not familiar.
Okay, so Ben Wallace went on a podcast. I got to give a shout out to this podcast. 120 Watts, the podcast.
Big Ben.
Ben Wallace, a legendary. I think people forget how good he was. Fun fact here about Ben Wallace. Him and Dikembe Mutombo are the only 4-time Defensive Player of the Year awards.
Played some college ball in Virginia, so love it.
Ben Wallace was dominant. He is statistically, I know this from doing those facts only, he's statistically the best all-time in defensive box plus minus. So the numbers back it up.
Are you doing a facts only on Ben Wallace being better offensively than people think?
No, defensively.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
So this is what Ben Wallace had to say on this podcast, the 120 Watts podcast, when asked if, because the narrative, I think this is why this is interesting. The narrative is always a joke that the Pistons drafted Darko. What is it? How's his last name pronounced? Milicic? Milicic. So they draft Darko over Carmelo. Obviously, big mistake. But here's what's interesting about that. Ben Wallace thinks that 2004 Pistons team that was so stacked defensively, that took the Lakers in 5 games, he thinks they don't win if they draft Carmelo. And this is what he had to say on the podcast about it.
Drafted Carmelo, I honestly don't think we would ever win a championship.
Why is that? You think the focal point would have been on him too much, or as a high value rookie, or
Melo would have wanted to play right away.
Oh, okay.
And the expectation of him would have been right there too.
Right. So it would have had the potential to disrupt the team chemistry.
Yeah.
But by drafting Darko was the guy that came in and said, I can't play on this team. I'm not ready to play on this team. Who am I going to play in front of? I'm not ready. And by him doing that and accepting his role, it allowed us to build and grow, get stronger, and eventually win a championship.
All right, I'm going to continue this because this is interesting where he's going with this. Don't you think this is kind of an interesting take?
It is interesting, and I also think it like makes people realize how great a draft pick Darko was. One of the all-time great teammates. So selfless.
I'd like to point out Ben Wallace rocking a fresh Grand Rapids Drive hat.
Ooh, hometown for Nick. All right, this is what else he has to say. By the way, this Melo is not going to be liking when he hears this interview.
If he would have came in saying, I want to play, I need to be playing, now he would have called his agent. His agent would have been calling Joe. Darko would have been talking to the media. You know what I'm saying? The media would have been coming asking us crazy questions. And we would have had to say something crazy. They would have took it back to Darko.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The whole divide and conquer, man. If we would have drafted Melo, Tayshaun would have never blossomed to be the type player that he became. You know what I mean? And we won the championship off the back of maybe the best block that I ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I blocked a lot of shots. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the type of grit and grind that team was about.
That season, Chauncey hit a big three.
Well,
he obviously didn't like that LeBron block.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Not a fan.
And I'll stop it there, but here's why I find that such an interesting take that Ben Wallace is bringing in is that, to me, it's the bigger picture, Tug, of team sports and chemistry.
We over me.
And I was going to say, we just talked about that with the Clippers. It's like I see a better team chemistry with the Lakers. I see guys like Dwight Howard, like Alex Caruso, guys who can, quote-unquote, play their role when they come off the bench. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's why I find this Melo thing so interesting because that team, and I know we're going back to 2004, and I don't know how much of that you remember, but I can remember, and I was even way more of a casual NBA fan because I lived in the Midwest in cities that didn't have teams. They were so fun to watch. They played defense. They hit the shots when they needed to. And they dismantled a 3-time defending Lakers team. No one gave them a shot in that finals, but they played well as a team. And his argument of being basically saying Melo's a selfish player would not have fit in our team system.
A couple of things. Like, I think there's personally a lot of revisionist history happening right here and a lot of people playing into their own bias.
Okay.
Dirty sports, revisionist history.
Fair enough.
2, Pistons weren't that fun to watch. But like they were so defensive-minded. Ben Wallace didn't go outside the paint. Richard Hamilton is the go-to guy for a lot of the points. You know, Tayshaun is like very quiet. Like they're close. They're much closer to the Spurs.
Agreed.
And the Spurs aren't the most exciting team to watch.
Okay. But I'm saying, I guess for me, it was fun to watch. I'm particularly talking about the finals. It's fun to watch, again, this
David versus Goliath situation.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. I thought that, I mean, obviously, a person who roots for the Celtics, I was rooting for anyone to beat the Lakers, so I was pumped. I was shocked that it actually happened. And it happened as easily as it did, especially when the Lakers kind of loaded up with some Gary Payton, Karl Malone, sort of like, let me chase that ring players. I remember that year because I was out here in L.A. Just for a visit, and I saw Gary Payton at a restaurant on Sunset right after. I think that was the same year that D. Fish had just hit that big jumper against the Spurs, and he ran out the gym.
Yeah,
I saw him taking shots before Game 7 of that series, and I was like, "Oh, these guys aren't." I mean, who knows? I mean, you can do whatever you want. But I was like, "Oh man, okay."
Is it true now? Gary Payton's nickname was the Glove. Is it true that he puts on a giant glove before he takes shots?
He does.
I thought that was true.
Yeah, it's 100% fact.
Yeah.
Has the server sign it, which is so interesting. But, yeah, I mean, here's my thinking. Rick Carlisle's the coach of that team, right? Or am I wrong?
No, it was Larry Brown.
Larry Brown. Okay, great. Larry Brown knows how to handle personalities.
Sure.
Did it with AI.
Sure.
Carmelo's still young. He's fresh off of, relative,
fresh off a title
at Syracuse. Maybe he comes in a different system. Does he is a different sort of mentality instilled in Carmelo. So instead of saying they never would have won with the Pistons, what if he goes to the Pistons and they start a dynasty?
Okay,
because
fair.
he has Larry Brown as the coach, being like I made Iverson great, and we got to the finals, and I did this and I did that. So
that's an interesting way of looking at it.
I think systems can create players. And maybe not so much in the NBA. We're not talking about NFL, where I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
But I believe that Kobe fell into Phil Jackson's camp.
Sure.
Phil Jackson is the perfect coach for Kobe because Kobe was so curious and he had that sort of mind. And yes, he's already untamable as it is, and barely anyone could tame him anyway. Phil actually gave players some leash. Like, it was the perfect situation.
Yeah.
Michael's a similar way. He liked both of his coaches. Doug Collins, and Phil. So I'm saying, as much as I like the theory, I like the hot take from Ben, but it is him saying, look, all we know about Carmelo now is he just wants to heist.
He's a ball hog.
Yeah. I'm just like to look at it the other way and say, could be interesting. Play with a couple good vets. Maybe they teach him some stuff that maybe he's more coachable than we think. He was very good those couple Olympics. We played with great players. He was like the best player on the floor.
It's a good point.
So
I like your take on this. I like looking at it from a different angle.
Do we say who knows what's really going to happen? Probably it may, Carmelo may be Carmelo, but it would have been interesting to see him with that team, to see him with Larry Brown as his coach, to see like Rip Hamilton and these other guys kind of like see if they could, put him in the right place. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I like the interview a lot. I like any interview with the guy's going to
I like that he doesn't hold back.
I absolutely agree.
I like that Ben's going on this podcast, which, by the way, it's kind of like the black guy version of ours. They're on a couch.
Yep.
So shout out to the 120 podcast.
Ben's voice is better than all of ours, though. That voice it's
great.
Very White-esque, incredible.
I love it.
He might be on Cameo. I might ask him to say a couple things on my behalf.
Check that for you.
Thank you.
Ben on Cameo.
Hey, Tug. You're right, actually.
Carmelo
would have won us a chip.
I want to do in-person cameos. Why do celebrities not offer, like, hey, for $1,000 I'll show up to your birthday party? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, for this much I'll show up and tell your friend he's a bitch to his face.
You can get a Ben Wallace cameo for $31.
$31.
What's that one about? Agents.
It's actually only $30.99.
Okay. Well, it's still same diff. Question for you.
Yes.
Let's talk about your brother Mark for 1 second.
Okay.
What cameo would you give your brother? Could you rifle off a cameo for your brother right now? Like Chris Sabo, automatic. Norm Charlton.
Wait, this is for my brother?
Yeah, like a cameo. Like if you're doing a birthday, like his birthday was coming up, and you had to do a cameo.
That's my little brother.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great question. I don't know. He's a dentist, so who's
number one dentist?
who's the? Can I mention? And my brother listens to the show, and I don't know if he'll hear this because I don't know if he listens to full episodes. But dude, he just got on Instagram. My little brother's 35.
Oh, they got Darren the Dentist Stewart, the MMA fighter.
Okay, there we go.
That would be amazing.
Also $31.
I gotta say, he's the same price as Ben Wallace.
Yeah.
My little brother just got on Instagram, and he's a dentist. His first picture was like some nasty mouth of some dude that he just worked on his teeth. Mark, if you hear this, nobody wants to see that. And he texted me, he goes, I don't understand this Instagram. I'm like, well, this is like boomer-esque. You're 35. But post pictures of your kids. They're pretty kids. Post pictures with your family. Tug, your father is an orthodontist, correct?
Retired, but yes.
Nobody wants to see pictures of the teeth you just worked on.
No. Well, maybe the finish. the after part. You want to promote yourself, your work.
Yeah, not the nasty root canal or whatever my little brother posted.
I'm thinking off the cuff about my own personal cameo. Like if my wife were to give me one for my birthday, I think Michael Irvin would be my number one. I've met Larry Bird, so I don't need it. But Michael Irvin might be my number one cameo.
We met him.
Yeah, and you loved him, right?
He was great. He's such a nice guy. We met him. Goldberg set it up. We went to the NFL Network a couple years ago. after they did their show, and he was so friendly, and he took pictures with us, and he said that his wife picks out. I said, dude, you always dress so fresh, Michael. What's the key? He's like, my wife, man. He goes, she just lays it out in the bed for me.
Key's money.
Which, by the way, I started to do for Nick. I laid out.
Well, this is a good segue into Saturday night, by the way.
I laid out his clothes for Saturday night as we did the live Wilder Fury round two. But before we get to that, Tug, I just want to remind every dirtball to get themselves some Manscaped. I can't talk. Great start to this ad read. Support for Dirty Sports comes from Manscaped, dirtballs, who's the best in the men's below the belt grooming. Manscaped, who, this is true, this is actually a great segue, was one of the sponsors of the Wilder Fury fight. Yeah.
I see the Manscaped brand growing. I see it out there for sure.
They are. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. I love Manscaped. In fact, I am going to probably be using Manscaped this week. So, Nick, hopefully I don't leave a mess in the bathroom. Got to trim the hedges, as they say. I got a Lawnmower 3.0 that just arrived. That is the latest edition of the Manscaped, the Lawnmower 3.0, and it is absolutely amazing. It is the best Manscaped that is available, and they also have so many great products that I have, that I use, and no more accidents when trimming the hedges, guys. Manscaped will eliminate all that problem. And best of all, you get 20% off plus free shipping with the code DIRTY at manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DIRTY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. That's manscaped.com. Use promo code DIRTY. Send me a screenshot that you use Manscaped. I don't want to see the pictures of you manscaping yourself, but I'd love to see you using promo code DIRTY at manscaped.com for 20% off, and I will send you a couple koozies in the mail. Now, we watched the fight, the big fight this week. The big heavyweight match was Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, after they had a draw in the first bout. We went live, Tug Coker. This was your idea. You and Nick, it was a joint effort. You set it up. You said, hey, Ruther, what about us going live in the Smut Studio? Another reason why you should be subscribed to us on YouTube. You never know.
I love that. There's a lot of spontaneity involved. That Saturday afternoon, I said, you know what? Want to watch the fight? And then I think you suggested maybe we dress up. So we don our Saturday night best, suit up.
Yeah.
And have a great time calling the fight. I thought it was a blast. I don't know what you guys thought, but
I really enjoyed it. It was would you call it a relatively quick fight? 7 rounds, TKO by Fury, who was a technician, I would call it, in this fight. He was amazing.
I agree, and we talked a little bit about the fight, obviously why it was going on, but there's some fun stuff to learn after the fact. Talking about he switched trainers before this fight, and went back to the basics. Learned, and we saw it. We saw skill take place where we all agree as we were watching it that Wilder was, following his name. It was just all over the place, just so wild with his swing, his swinging.
Sure.
Just trying to end the fight. He kind of knew that he was in trouble early on and was just trying to time a big shot.
It's going for that knockout.
Didn't ever really come. He got that shot behind the back of the head, gets knocked down, starts to bleed from the ear.
Yeah.
And it's never really the same. He loses the power seems to be gone. The stamina in his legs is gone. And it didn't look like Fury had to work that hard. I mean, I feel like their game plan was so set in stone. There was no changes, mid-fight from Wilder's corner. And the rest was history.
Yeah. When they would cut to the corners in between rounds, Fury didn't even look phased. He looked calm. You didn't see much sweat. You didn't see any blood. And then you go to Wilder's corner.
Spitting blood.
He looked like a sorority girl. 10 rounds deep at the bar. Like, this is a debacle over here. It's kind of like, as a guy who ran 2 marathons last year, that would always anger me because I'd be that guy, let's say, mile 15, 16, and I'm thinking I hate my life. And then there's those runners who are just cruising right along, and they just have it all together, and you're thinking, man, how am I going to finish this thing? where they're basically planning dinner plans in their head.
You're like, I should have actually had some water before I ran. Turns out you actually need water for a marathon.
And we had the prettiest ring girl you could find.
Beautiful.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
A ring girl was Nicholas D'Alessandro, who was donning my outfit, my old Flag and Anthem
That's right.
sports jacket and Flag and Anthem chinos.
The reporters at the red carpet were asking me who I was wearing. I just answered Andy Ruther.
Yeah, there were a few like, why does Nick look so ill-fitted in his clothes? Well,
I thought they fit him pretty well, to be honest.
Yeah, everything was great. The
jacket
chinos.
especially, I thought.
Yeah,
The chinos, I thought, were
Maybe
also maybe a little big.
maybe a little big.
Long, I should say.
Yeah, I'm like a couple inches taller than you, not much.
Yeah, you got a little bit of length on me.
We'll learn about all this during our combine measurements later in the episode.
Ooh, a little tug nug
A little
preview.
tease, but no, it was really fun, and it was fun for us to kind of get together, and it felt like days gone by, like big '90s fights and heavyweight fights, because for so long the heavyweight division has been kind of devoid of real drama,
I
and
agree.
real anticipation, and it's similar to what we talked about with the Lakers, the Celtics, Cowboys, and Niners. Like when you have big heavyweights, it's better for the sport.
It really is, and this did have a lot of hype.
Biggest box office, you said, right?
It was the highest grossing for ticket sales at the MGM.
Okay.
So total,
Yeah.
it surpassed, I believe, Bo Lewis from '99. I think it was that fight. So obviously inflation plays into this as far as ticket sales are going to be a lot more expensive in 21 years later. But yeah, this I know is a lot of hype. I had a phone call yesterday with my dad, and he's a casual sports fan. He said, and he doesn't follow boxing at all. He said, "Oh, you guys called that. I've heard a lot of things about that." My dad said he had heard a lot of things coming up to that fight, which to me shows you're right. There was a lot of hype and build up for this fight, and I hope they fight again.
Well, Wilder has an immediate rematch clause in the contract, 30 days that kicks off as soon as the fight is over. And there was some discussion. I saw Andre Ward on the air talking about whether or not he would, act on that clause. He thinks he will not. I think that's an obvious no-brainer because there's so much money involved.
Yeah.
He could fight the next fight, lose again, and never have to. He should be covered for life.
Yeah,
The kind of money that we're talking about here, but.
and
He thinks a lot of what happens. Sorry to just cut you off real fast. Is that what he's saying? And I agree with this. You see this with Mike Tyson. You see this with guys like Sergey Kovalev, who's a big light heavyweight. Once these bullies get bullied, it sort of like breaks their whole like psychology.
yeah,
It's hard for them to sort of, I've been busted. Can I ever get back? You see that a lot of times in this sport. So I'll be interested to see if he finds a way to say, let me get some skills. Let me become a better boxer,
yeah.
and I can come back. But I saw earlier, Vegas, they said the hypothetical odds were, we had Fury as an underdog on Saturday night, plus 115. He'd be a minus 330 favorite, 3-1 favorite in the next fight.
Fury would.
Yep.
And as we noted during the live broadcast, which if you want to go back and watch it, it is on YouTube. He's going to need that fight because he's going to need money because he spent it all on his outfit for his intro walking into the ring.
I mean, we talked about this during the fight, but there's a lot of comments on his pacing before fights. Fury was carried out on a throne,
Yes.
so didn't do any sort of nervous, wasted energy. And our boy Wilder carried a 200-pound piece of chainmail
Yes.
and looked like a knight with this full regalia.
Yeah.
I got excited there for a second because for a minute I thought we were watching The Masked Singer.
Which we might see Deontay Wilder on next season.
Already this season, huge promotion last episode. Wilder Fury, Masked Singer.
Nick wants that so badly.
Talk about promotion. You know you're getting promoted well when you're on the #1 TV show in America.
When is the last time you watched The Masked Singer?
When Antonio Brown was on, I'm sure.
No, it was 2 weeks ago. I've missed a couple episodes.
I hope this is a joke. Is it a good show?
It's a great show.
Okay. I'll give it a chance.
I've attempted to watch it.
I'll give it a chance.
It's a no for me. I can't do it.
Oh, Randy Jackson.
Yeah, that's a no for me.
I wasn't feeling dog.
No, dog. That's a no for me, dog. So you want to talk a little NFL? Because I feel like you have your own combine idea.
Not really. It's just a special day because it's all the hand size Twitter is going off out there because
they're so stupid.
They've measured the quarterbacks and I believe the wide receivers and tight ends for size, weight, and for all the players also hand size. And now we know how much hand size has been a big deal, whether or not it matters, but it's been a part of people's draft capital for the past few years. And Joe Burrow, the presumptive number 1 pick, came in with the same size hands as Jared Goff, smaller hands than Alex Smith, who his nickname was Old Small Hands, I believe. Affectionately. I'm sure he loved it. So 9, whatever that measurement is,
9 inches.
9 inches. And I think there's a couple guys out there that have, it's all relative. Not between 9 and 10.
Tua, huge hands.
Tua's a 10, right?
10.
There's a kid, Bryce Love from Utah State.
I think it's Jordan Love.
Oh, so thank you, Jordan Love. Has 10 and almost 10 and a half.
It is 10 and a half. For some reason, it says 10 and 4/8.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say this.
We don't reduce fractions here.
Let me just say this about this crap. This is crap. People have too much time on their hands. People shouldn't have jobs. I'm going to quote my brother, because my brother was texting me about this today. This is how he describes it. This is paralysis by analysis. Stupid takes.
Rhyme time.
And I like that, because these are dumb takes. You have too much time in your hands. I watched Joe Burrow. You watched him. We all watched Joe Burrow, what he did this year. The guy was absolutely amazing. The best season for a college football quarterback in the history of the sport. In the best conference, against the best teams, week in and week out. He didn't just put up great numbers. He put up record-breaking numbers against top 10 teams. So I don't want to hear about his hand size. The guy can clearly throw a football, and he can throw it with accuracy. This is a myth, and I'm just going to say it because you think about it. It's like the myth, oh, you got big hands, you got a big dick. You got small hands, you got a small dick. Well, you know what? I got little hands. Got a 14-inch dick. So I'm just saying.
Incredible.
But let's measure my hands, because I have probably the smallest hands of anybody in the city of Los Angeles.
I measured my hands today just for the purposes of the show. I think they came out at 9 and 3/8.
Now,
so I'd say just above average, but probably a little small for my size.
Are you measuring from which?
I'm measuring from my middle to my ring finger.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I'm measuring from my thumb to my pinky, all the way across.
Almost the same size as Jacob Eason.
Yeah, I like Jacob's game a lot.
All right, so we have a tape measure.
Where's the tape measure?
I gave it to you.
It's
yeah, it's right over here.
right next to you.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a tape measure.
Putting my mic down.
All right, so thumb.
Put your pinky here. Yep, and then spread your thumb all the way across. All right, hold this. I'm gonna get a photo.
Clearly, we have too much time on our hands.
Okay, this looks to me. No, one more time. One more time. We'll do it live. I want a photo for Instagram, but now it looks like spread it as far as you can. Hard. 6. I'm looking at a 7. I see 7 inches.
Bigger than Burrow.
No, Burrow's 9.
Never mind.
Burrow's 2 inches. Just two more inches of hand than Andy Ruther.
7 inches. Also the size of my. You know what? I'm just saying.
Times 2.
You want to do mine?
Sure,
All right.
let's do it.
Hop on over here, Nick. Please make more noise while you do that. All right, hop on in here. Get in the camera. It's fine. So we have Nick measuring his hand size. Yeah, do your right hand. It's yeah. It's pinky to thumb. Now spread out your hands.
Oh wow.
Nick's a lot bigger than me. What are we at?
I can go further.
Okay, go further. I see 8, almost 8 1/4. Let's say 8 1/4. It's a pretty decent sized hand there for a man of your stature.
Yeah.
So the combine begins. We'll have to get the second half of the Twin Towers when Joe comes back and get a little hand measurement from Joe.
I mean, I am
Probably 11 or 12, if I'm guessing.
I'm embarrassingly small.
It really is. That's interesting.
So I have, and he's a big kid, and he's projected to be probably around your height. One of my nephews, he's only 8, but he's definitely going to be 6'4", 6'5", maybe 6'6". His hands are either my size, I forget, or bigger. He's in the 2nd grade.
Sometimes when I shake your hand, I think I'm shaking my 15-month-old hand.
You think it's a turnoff for women? I'll just be honest.
No, I think they can relate to your hand.
You think like if when I'm holding a girl's hand, she's like, God, this guy's such a putz. Like, look at this guy.
Does a girl ever say, "Oh, it's so cute. I'm actually holding your hand"?
No.
Just kidding.
But it's never been in my head, but maybe it should be. Right? Like our girl's like, dude, I'm holding this guy's hands down the street. It's like I'm holding little boy's hands.
Wait, has Seinfeld ever done an episode about hand size or curb? Because I feel like this should be 21st century Seinfeld.
There's an episode where Costanza becomes a hand model. I know. I'm not sure about hand size.
I feel like if this show is still going, they would do a sort of an NFL Combine episode.
I think they've done stuff with it. Well, they've done a man hands. Do you know that episode?
Of course.
Which, by the way, is a real thing. I agree. Especially as a guy with small hands.
Yeah, you don't have man hands.
No, I can't be dating a girl with, like, man hands. Because then it's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
We can't put anything into this, right? Like, we can't put any value into this stuff, can we?
As far for draft purposes.
Yeah.
No, because I think, like I said, Goff has those hands. Russell Wilson's hands were a little bit bigger, but I think it's more about Tua came in at 6 foot tall. I think the projection was they want him to be a little bit bigger.
I don't understand the Tua thing. Joe is on board with this. He's
pro Tua.
We are both anti-Tua.
Colin Cowherd today, and this may be a reason for you to be excited. I was driving home before I came over here, and Colin Cowherd said that his tier 1 for draft quarterbacks this year, by far and away, is Tua.
Wilson, 10 1/4 inches.
10 1/4 is big for a guy who's
your boy Dak, largest hands of any quarterback in the league.
Which are
10.88.
That's a monster.
Again, my thing with Tua.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim Druckenmiller at 11 1/4.
Oh, Virginia Tech quarterback.
Tug, no quarterback from the college, no quarterback from Bama has ever been good, ever. Again, I like to ride with history.
Joe Namath.
Joe Namath threw more interceptions than touchdowns. And we're talking about a guy in his 60s.
Okay,
He was drunk half the time.
Kenny Stabler.
Did he go to Bama?
Yeah. But it's been a while, is what you're saying.
No quarterback from Bama in the Nick Saban era has done anything at the pro level. I was not on Tua before the injury. Then he has this awful injury? Hell no. I would want no part of Tua. No way.
One of the reasons hand size, I think, matters is because it affects your ability to grip the ball in the warmer weather, like the humidity. I think Joe Burrow has disproved that theory because he's been playing in LSU games for the past year.
Maybe we'll have to get Coach O next episode.
But there is the last thing I'll say about this draft-related thing is there's apparently some buzz going around that Burrow is his team is making waves to say, I don't want to be a part of the Bengals organization.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
So
look,
this is a real thing. Apparently, I've heard of multiple different sources. My sources down at the combine are saying that his people are going around sort of spreading the word, saying, can we move off this pick?
I'll list a few names right now of guys who did not go to their team. Everybody always brings up Eli. Dude, there's way more than that. These are quarterbacks, and let's look at how all their careers turned out. These are quarterbacks who were drafted by a team that they didn't want to play for. John Elway,
number 1. It's like the number. That's the guy.
1-2 Super Bowls. Yeah. Eli Manning, 1-2 Super Bowls. Steve Young, drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, goes to the USFL, ends up on the Niners, wins a Super Bowl. Jim Kelly, drafted by the Buffalo Bills, doesn't play for them either, goes to the USFL, ultimately plays for the Bills, makes it to 4 Super Bowls. So my argument is this. All these instances, guys were extremely successful. Jim Kelly's the only one of those who I listed who didn't win a Super Bowl. What is the argument for Burrow to go to the Bengals?
Also, Pat Mahomes, drafted by the Tigers, never played for him.
Amazing.
What was that?
I don't know.
What did that have to do with anything that I'm having a conversation about?
Just
Record
quarterbacks
scratch.
that didn't play for teams they were drafted by.
And he was so impassioned, and you just blew that up.
Michael Vick, Colorado Rockies.
Nick, we're talking about guys. He's getting muted. Do you see my point, though, Tug?
Yeah.
I think I have a valid point in that it worked out for every single one of these guys. Name a quarterback who didn't want to play for the team that drafted him where it didn't work out. It always worked out.
I think you know what I think is happening as well. I think it's because Carson Palmer's brother, Jordan,
Correct.
has become a renowned quarterback guru.
Correct.
And a lot of the rumors seem to be starting from around the Palmer family, saying you don't want to be a part of this organization. Now, these are rumors, but that's where it's stemming from. And so, you're right. I mean, if you have the muscle to say yes or no. The problem is that Joe Burrow is old for a quarterback. He's actually, I think, he's maybe older than the MVP of the league. Lamar.
He is. Joe Burrow is older than Lamar Jackson.
So he wants to go play. I mean, the time of, I'm talking about the idea of like maybe sitting out. That was a threat that Elway, made. So who knows? But you know the Bengals organization better than obviously anyone on this podcast. And you know that they're not used. Your theory is they'll never be better with this ownership in place.
They just won't. The facts don't lie. They have never won a playoff game since Mike Brown took over. And they've had teams. They've had squads. They've had amazingly talented teams.
Burrow, older than Lamar by a month.
Yeah.
My age.
I just don't. I quote tweeted some dork Bengals blogger last week who's like, why would Burrow want to go to Miami versus Cincinnati? First of all, if you're a Bengals fan, what are you like? What I get angry. I get frustrated. What are you doing? Stop supporting this organization. Mike Brown does not care about you as a fan. He doesn't care about you as a player, as a coach. It's just, it gets under my skin. I understand if you live in Cincinnati and you say, who should I support? Don't support them. He is the worst owner ever. He's awful. He's an abomination to his father, Paul Brown. Why would you play for the Cincinnati? Give me one reason, because he's going to get the money no matter where he goes. Give me one reason right now.
You doing Tracy Chapman right now? I'm not going to sing it, but
give me one reason to stay here.
Thank you.
And I'll turn back around.
They should run that when Burrow comes on TV.
I mean, again, I'm obviously close to the situation. I grew up there. I could be maybe like tell me where I'm wrong in this assessment.
I mean, do the Chargers go all in and reboot with make a move? The Dolphins. I don't know what the Ohio tax structure is, but obviously athletes love going to Miami, to Florida because of the
No state income tax.
So I mean, that should be end of blog. End of blog.
It was like that dork I just wrote. Okay, put everything aside. Living in Cincinnati, living in Miami, Ohio River, ocean, Cuban girls, Cincinnati girls who eat Skyline. Like, let's just. It's not. That's what people need to remember. It's not just about the team. It is about your quality of life. You're going to get a boatload of money whether you play for the Dolphins or the Bengals or the Chargers, like you're saying, whoever. But you want to here's the thing about life. You want to set yourself up for success. You and I have, what I love about our friendship, and we've had so many deep talks about this. When you make plans on things, they have to be calculated. They have to be well thought out. Do you want to go to the Bengals and have your career just lit on fire? Or do you want to go to a team that has a better chance of you being successful.
The only thing I can think of, I mean, in addition to being this number one pick, going to the Bengals, is he's from Ohio. You know, does he want to be the sort of the native son that brings a title to the state? But is that enough? I don't know. And again, these are all rumors that are just floating around. That's what makes the draft, the combine, so much fun.
He's also from the other side of the state, complete opposite side, and you could easily make the argument the last quote-unquote prototypical NFL quarterback that went number one to the Cincinnati Bengals, it's actually not an argument, was also a Heisman winner, Carson Palmer. And Carson Palmer had a pretty good career.
I think so.
And Carson Palmer put up some great numbers on those Bengals teams. Carson Palmer also never won a playoff game and also literally retired or forced the Bengals to play his hand, saying, I'm not going to play for them anymore. And Carson Palmer, like you're saying, with his connection obviously to his brother, Jordan Palmer, is already on record, we've discussed it on this show, saying do not go to Cincinnati. Just don't go. If you're hearing that from a former number one pick, from a former Heisman winner, why would you want to go there? I don't understand this notion of they're unsavable.
Like we've said this before, but I think I saw some analytics as people know I like the numbers. People talk about the two positions that you want to be drafting in the first round that are really have a high hit rate. Well, not a high hit rate, but the high hit rate number one is cornerback. Corner.
Okay.
Like the biggest successes of cornerbacks seem to be the position you want to draft. If there's elite cornerbacks, corner, you want to draft them.
Yeah.
Because the position changes the game the most.
That makes sense.
Is quarterback. Therefore, you want to take as many shots as possible.
Sure.
So, we talk about this, obviously Burrow's the guy and you want to invest all your capital, but maybe you take another shot late too. It's like we talk about with RG3, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Years ago. One was drafted first round, one was drafted third round.
Well, I had this on the rundown. We don't have to go into it. Jim Irsay recently said last week that had Russell Wilson still been available, the Colts were going to draft both him and Andrew Luck.
That's interesting. That'd be crazy. But I guess you bring that up because in case you need insurance in case Burrow does the holdout situation, you need to draft somebody else.
If I'm Burrow, I kind of want to go to Cincinnati and be the hero. Isn't there something for going somewhere and rebuilding something and having that in your repertoire? He can be the Luke Skywalker of the Bengals. Instead of Luke Skywalker, you're the Luke Skyline Chili.
Oh, man.
We got to get Nick outside.
Yeah. Just take a break. He's just coasting off the success of his rap bit.
I know what you're and I know what you're saying, Nick. But there is no savior. Again, that's why I used Carson Palmer as the example. There has been no savior. And I love Burrow. I am a huge fan of Burrow. I'm all in his corner. Even if Burrow goes to the Bengals, I want Burrow to succeed. I like him as a player. I like him as a person. But I just don't think it's possible. The numbers don't lie on what the Bengals as an organization have compared to the other cities. Here's a prime example. The Bengals are the most northern team geographically in the country that does not have an indoor practice facility. These are basic amenities. I don't know if you want to call it amenities that every pro team has. But again, the Bengals owner is so cheap. A lot of people don't know this. When the Cincinnati Bengals have to practice indoors, since they don't have their own practice facility, they have to go down to the University of Cincinnati. They have to downgrade to the college team.
Go Bearcats.
Who has an indoor practice facility. And to me,
that is amazing. That's an amazing nug.
And that's just one example of people say, oh, Ruther, and this and that. No, guys, I'm not exaggerating. They have to go to the local college when it gets cold in December. That is embarrassing that your owner won't spend $10 million to get an indoor practice facility. And again, this is one of many things. Why do you want to put yourself in that position? I get what you're saying about being the savior. No one has ever been the savior. They will never win anything as long as this man's family is part of the ownership. And luckily he's old, and he's going to die soon. It's good for Cincinnati people. And then his daughter will probably take it over. Her name's Katie Blackburn, but she might sell the team. Who knows? I don't see – you couldn't put anything in front of me. Like, that's the only argument that people are going to show me is that he wants to be the savior. But why? Like, that's not something I want to save. But again, look, I'm rooting for the guy.
Definitely.
I'm rooting for him.
Even though he has small hands.
Yeah.
But you can relate to that.
Well, that makes me root for him even more.
Exactly.
Help me, Joe B1 Burrow me. You're my only hope.
Oh, no. Is this just a show of puns now? Dirty puns?
We went from dirty sports to dapper sports to dirty puns. This show is off the rails.
Yes, it is.
You know what I need to give you, Nick, to just maybe calm you down a little. Some of that feels CBD. Premium CBD delivered directly to your doorstep. I am a 38-year-old man with small hands, banged up knees. I get aches and pains. I don't like it. You know what always makes me feel better? I love the tincture. I love the drops that I use from Feels. It's a premium CBD delivered directly to your doorstep. Feels naturally helps reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness. You just place a few drops of Feels under your tongue and feel the difference within minutes. You know what I love about Feels is that they have a hotline and text message support that will help you if you have any questions. It works naturally, and there's no high or hangover, so you don't have any of those effects. If you're a guy like me who likes to occasionally go for long runs, work out, you can't sleep, Feels will make you feel so great. And the best part about Feels is if you become a member, and I know a lot of you guys like CBD, as you should. CBD is great. It's natural. It's organic. If you become a member, you get 50% off your first order. How amazing is that? You just use promo code DIRTY at Feels.com. So become a member. You get 50% off your first order at Feels.com.
Just want to quickly add that Jake Fromm, the quarterback from Georgia, came in with 8 inches and 7/8.
Okay.
So that's another guy for you to root for this draft season.
Very attractive mom, too.
Very important.
Where'd you say he was from?
Georgia. Was there a pun? I was supposed to hit a pun?
That was the pun.
Well, there's been a lot of comedy or attempts at comedy this show. So I think that's the natural segue to I think we wrap up the show because I know this is going to be a lengthy discussion.
You know what? No comment on 17-game season, real quick.
You can hop in here.
Actually, I don't have much to say. I'm more interested in your opinion. I mean, you think more people? I know the players hate playing preseason, so they eliminate one game of the preseason. There's obviously some money issues. I actually thought it was a hard no from the CBA, from the players' union, for the collective bargaining. But it was apparently pretty contentious. It was like 6-5. So, and it goes to the players now. But I think the people are really considering it. I think it should be a hard no for the players.
A 17-game season?
Correct. Not for the money, because the money. If you saw what they're being offered, like the people that were the multimillionaires were still getting like just a couple $100,000. Like there's just not enough money involved.
Yeah.
So
my take is this. I agree. Compensate, take care of the players.
Yes.
As a fan, I love football.
Of course.
So if you're going to throw me an extra game and one less preseason game, I love that as a fan.
It's just the weird thing of it'll likely end the 500. It'll obviously end the 500 team getting in the playoffs thing that was always like they're so bad. Like now that forever puts that to rest.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
As a fan, we love more football
And less preseason.
Yeah.
Let's just get to it.
And as a current Los Angeles Chargers ticket
Ooh.
holder, made my first payment last week. It's official. Hey, I'm all about one extra game. One extra game that I can decide to take you or Nick 2, whatever it may be.
I mean, that'll be interesting though for the teams to figure out though that extra game, who's getting it. And that's a lot of revenue.
Oh yeah,
For half the teams.
yeah.
Other half don't get it, and that'll probably mean that Jacksonville will soon be playing 9 games in London.
Oh, Jacksonville. Yeah. No, I again, as a fan, yeah. But the players need to be compensated for what they're putting their bodies through. Okay, so we alluded to it earlier in the show, Tug. There was a tweet that went out from Jimmy Traina.
Yep. Runs sports media for the Sports Illustrated.
Again, his tweet said, "The Hangover, top 10 comedy of all time. Not even debatable, right?" And if you look under the comments, it clearly was debatable. So you said we should come up with our top 10 movie comedies of all time. And here's what I'm going to say before we jump into this. This was very difficult for me. And you're probably not going to like how I handle this, although I feel like you're pretty understanding, kind of like how we did our top 10 stories.
Yeah.
And I lumped things together. Because this is tough for me for a few reasons. One, a lot of these movies that I really liked, I maybe have not seen in a while, and I need to get reacquainted.
Interesting.
So
well, you said it right. Like, we approached the top 10 lists differently. So, I'm very excited to see what your parameters are for your top 10.
So I have a list of 25 movies in front of me.
Yay!
So hold on. We're not going to go over all 25.
Right.
But I had to just start writing a list of movies that I loved or I felt are classics. But this is definitely personal. I don't want people thinking, "Oh, that's not a top 10." These are Andy Ruther.
Correct. And I think we should say that about all of our lists. These are our top 10.
Yeah.
This isn't for everyone.
Yeah. So with that being said, I also put things in genres of like, I don't know, like these few. You're gonna hate this. These few early 2000s.
The thought behind it, I do love.
Because you can see I have a big list. I have different colored movies highlighted. So you did it, I did it, and Nick did it. And so obviously we have different age. You and I are in the same age group.
Yep.
Nick is 23 years old. He's going to have, I assume, a completely different thought process on this. So these are our top 10 movie comedies of all time. I'd like to start with you.
My number 10? Or just my list?
I'm not numbering mine in order.
Okay, great. I'm going to do this. I have 9, and I was going to allow one of your free agents come over to my side.
Okay, I love this.
So
Either mine or Andy's?
yes, I'm going to
Okay.
choose one from your side.
Okay.
So my buddy Sam Alapore, who works for ESPN, put out his list, and I was like, and it did not include Dumb and Dumber. And a bunch of people I said, listen, your list is not correct because it doesn't have Dumb and Dumber.
I agree.
And several people piled on that, which I loved. So shout out to Sam, but that's a falsehood. Dumb and Dumber is 100% in the top 10. It's one of the most quotable movies of all time.
I think that's Nick brought up a great point. Real quick, sorry to hop in here. He said that yesterday. He was like, if it's quotable, Dumb and Dumber. If we're out at the grocery store and I say, so you're saying there's a chance?
Yes.
People know.
I feel like gifts in this current day and age are important. Quotability, rewatchability are all part of my components for why I picked these. Dumb and Dumber, I actually think I like it more. It's one of those comedies that actually gets better for me.
Yeah.
I think I've watched it the first time and I was like, it's funny. Then I watched it again. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then the 100th time I'm saying,
I missed that.
oh yeah, oh my God, we landed on the moon.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a classic, subtle bit as he walks out the door. Just another joke that Jim Carrey ad-libbed on his during the day. So for me, Dumb and Dumber, if not the top, right at the top. So now I'm going to go to some other ones that I think maybe are outside. I'm going to do some ones that I think people are like, you're crazy. This is a rom-com. I'm just going to say it. When Harry Met Sally with Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan is amazing. And it should be somewhere in people's list. If you're looking for a date night movie and you haven't seen it yet, take it with your girl or guy. Watch that movie. The Jerk, an old school movie, but I feel like everyone should be watching that movie. C. Martin is one of my comedy idols. Praino should be a part of this at some point, but C. Martin is one of my guys, and he is amazing in that. and it's hilarious.
Well, let's all kind of, in a way, I think we'll be doing this together because The Jerk has to be on your top 10. I agree. It's so funny. If you have not seen The Jerk, if you're younger, came out in the 70s. It's so brilliantly written. I mean, the opening scene is Steve Martin on like a rural farm in Mississippi, and you know
He was born a poor black boy.
He says, "I'm born a poor black boy," because he was raised by an all-black family just from the get-go. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So that's like my old, and I know what people are going to talk about. I'm sure maybe the Zucker brothers are going to be in there for your list. Anchorman, things. I'm sorry, Airplane.
Yeah.
But Anchorman is my next one. It's for me super quotable, watchable, hilarious. Anchorman's on my list.
Can I share like like it's really personal now. I might even get emotional about my mom, because you're saying When Harry Met Sally. And I don't know. I don't know if I should share this. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to bother my family.
Oh.
But my dad shared it with me, and I love it. And I don't have that on my list. But so my mom was very like, conservative, and like we were strict Catholics. And my dad tells me this story after my mom dies, and it's like it involves When Harry Met Sally, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe Mom did that. But it made me love my mom that much more. So my parents go to this place in northern Kentucky called the Elks Lodge. It's like a membership place. They don't belong there. They go with friends. It's a dinner place. And this is just a few years ago. In the middle of dinner, my mom's apparently sauced up. She starts reenacting the famous fake orgasm scene. In the middle of dinner. And all these like hotty-toddy, posh people are staring in this, whatever this restaurant, like lodge thing is. And my mom's faking an orgasm. And she's just going off the walls. If you haven't seen the movie, you have to see it.
Yep.
The whole I'll have what she's having scene. And as they're driving back, apparently my mom looks at my dad and she says, I can't believe I did that. But I've always wanted to do that. And my dad tells me that story. And I said, Dad, when did this happen? Because he didn't tell me that part. I said, when Mom was in her early 20s, when you were dating? And my dad goes, no. Your mom did that like 5 years ago. But it was such a great story, to go back to the movie, was that like my mom in her 60s, and it's funny hearing my dad saying, your mom's faking an orgasm in the middle of everybody. And they're looking at her like she's a lunatic. But like I loved hearing that story of like, that's a part of me, how I can be, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it goes back to that movie, the imprint that it left on obviously my mom.
Yeah. And it's one of the great comedies that I think can cross both for men and women. I think both people can get into it. And that's kind of what the movie's about.
I agree.
So, like I said, if you haven't seen it, and Rob Reiner directed it. Rob Reiner's mom famously said, I'll have what she's having. So I'll just give you my list, and then you can debate off that. The one I'm willing to be talked off of is Tropic Thunder. I remember that experience. The reason I put it on the list is because I went and saw it in the movie theater, and I remember laughing as hard as any time in my life with that movie. Edgy, maybe not a movie for these times, but hilarious. And there's a character named Tug in it with one extra G, which I don't approve of. But here's my list. Dumb and Dumber, Billy Madison, The Jerk, Naked Gun, When Harry Met Sally, Tropic Thunder, Anchorman, Groundhog Day, and then I don't know if it's quite a comedy, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm putting it in, Rushmore.
Okay.
So that's my list. And I have one more spot out there that I'm willing to be convinced by you two to put it in the list.
Interesting.
Thoughts on that list?
I like it. We have some similarities. Anchorman doesn't make my list.
Let me just quickly say, The Hangover, probably not in the top 20 for me.
Yeah.
Just to answer the original tweet.
Yeah.
The Hangover I remember being entertaining, but I'd probably put it around, it might make the bottom half of the 20s or 25, I think it might make it in there. Great movie. There's no doubt. I'm just talking about iconic movies
I agree.
that impacted my life.
I agree. So here's what I'll say about that list. I have similarities. Did you have Naked Gun?
I did.
I have The Jerk.
Yep.
I have Naked Gun. I have Dumb and Dumber.
Yep.
So we have 3 similarities
Okay,
there.
good. There's some room to debate.
Also on my list, for sure, Caddyshack.
Yep.
Animal House. Blazing Saddles.
Yep.
The sheriff is near.
And I discussed this with Nick's dad last night. It's tough for me not to put Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
It's a great movie. I don't know if it falls in like the Rushmore line to me, where it's like, is it just a really good movie, or is it a comedy, or do we even have that question?
And that's what I'm saying. So that's a tough one. And this one's gonna bother a lot of people, but I don't care. I've watched this movie. College, I used to watch this so many times. I think it holds up. I think it's still funny, especially in today's PC age. And I think a lot of people disrespect it when I look at lists and don't even mention it. The South Park movie, bigger, longer, and uncut. I think it was brilliant. And the history behind that was that they weren't going to approve it. The what's it called? Was it the Motion Pictures?
Yeah, whatever the MPA organization.
Motion Pictures Association, the rating, and they made it that much raunchier. And I think the South Park movie, and obviously I am a huge advocate for the South Park guys, Matt Stone and Trey Parker. So that makes my list. My personal favorite overall, number 1, is Animal House. I have seen that movie more than any movies. I think it's so funny. Written by Harold Ramis, who's one of the writers. Which then you
also did Groundhog Day, which is
exactly. And
amazing.
I was going to say you have to have one of his movies,
Yep.
whether it's that or Groundhog Day or Ghostbusters. Now
Ghostbusters. That's one of the fun parts about this debate is you remember how many good comedies are out there.
Well, and the thing, and that's a great point. And the thing is too, I was telling Nick this last night about Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is a comedy, but growing up as a kid, you don't know that.
I agree.
So I go, that's why it's difficult for me to put this on the list because I've seen Ghostbusters I don't know how many times, but as a kid I just thought it was
it's kind of scary.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So but here's what I've done.
I love the thought put into this.
I put the movie Hangover in the wheelhouse of all these movies. And then I want to ask all you guys, and obviously we're going to get to Nick.
Next time SpongeBob.
Can you just hold up your list so the viewers can see like
The
how
work?
extensive this thing is?
I'll put a picture. I'll get a picture of it for us so we can post it on social.
Can you zoom in on that?
I'm zoomed.
So I have these 5 movies in the same wheelhouse, and I want both your opinions on this. The Hangover's in one of them. These are that genre that is really funny, but what's the best? Bridesmaids, Old School, Superbad, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and The Hangover. I put all those in that same genre.
I think that's a good genre. I think that's a good window for all those.
And I loved all those.
Yeah, me too.
Like you were saying about Tropic Thunder in the theater. I will never forget how hard I laughed at Bridesmaids, at 40-Year-Old Virgin, at The Hangover, at Old School, at Superbad. So all those movies I thought were so well written. The cast was so amazing. What's your favorite? I would probably say, and I love all those, I'd probably lean towards 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, I mean it's
the pink highlighted ones.
pink highlighted ones. Man, I mean it's tough. Old School, Bridesmaids, Superbad's almost like it falls into the Rushmore good movie. Thing that we're talking about.
I remember when I went with my friend Sarah, who I used to wait tables with. When we saw Bridesmaids, like I was that guy in the theater because I don't hold back. If I think something's funny, and I loved Bridesmaids, and I think I was bordering on that. She's like, geez, I don't know if I want to be here with him anymore. Like I'm that guy laughing.
Yeah, I love it.
Hysterically. So all those. So I might give the edge to 40-Year-Old Virgin, but then I have Sandler movies on here, and I don't disagree. Did you have Billy Madison?
I had Billy Madison.
I don't disagree with that either because I'm like, you got to put a Sandler movie on here.
Well, also, you did a great job of putting a Mel Brooks movie on there, which...
I thought I had to.
Oh, of course. Of course.
I had to give Mel Brooks some love.
And some of these things, you're right. Like, we should do a day. We should do a YouTube channel where we're just watching the movies again and see what people are thinking because it'd be fun to refresh our memories with Blazing Saddles and whatever else he made,
And then what ranks up there for me, and I think he's brilliant and I love him. Borat.
I agree.
Great success.
Borat is on the cusp for me. Because, again, my movie-going experience was so good watching that.
And that's how I felt. Now, what do you feel about, let me toss out a few other ones. Something About Mary?
It's on a lot of lists out there. It's probably second-tier comedy for me personally.
Okay.
But still, I mean, the zipper scene,
Oh, my God.
I've never laughed. I mean, being a teenager and watching that scene, you laugh. It's so fun to laugh like
I
that
agree.
loud.
I saw it in the theater, was dying. I was in high school. The Vacation movies,
Yep,
Monty Python.
of course.
Bring out your dad.
So that's kind of my list. Coming to America.
Coming to America is great. Yeah, that's on several lists. I mean, that's incredible.
This is a tough one to do. Blues Brothers for me is up there.
People always say I love Caddyshack. I don't love it as much because of for whatever reason, I don't know why, but like it's for my top 10. But I can see why so many people love it.
I rewatched that one in the
yeah.
last year. It held up.
I need to watch it again. I mean, I do love it. Maybe it's just because I have a thing about sports movies, but yeah, Caddyshack it's got to go on the list.
So obviously these are all in my wheelhouse. Now let's go to Nick. You're born in what, 1996?
96.
So you'll have a different perspective.
I actually have Joe Burrow's birthday is my half birthday.
Oh my God.
How about that little nug? So
Nick Nug.
Nick
Ooh,
works in the
alliteration.
upside down of this podcast. He just
Yeah.
says things that are like maybe doesn't make any sense or non sequiturs or totally random.
It's good for the show.
Yeah, it is great for the show.
So when I did my list, I just kind of did it as if these are the movies that I would watch before I watch The Hangover.
Okay.
So it goes like this, and some of them are going to be questionable.
And please throw your comments on YouTube too. I want to see a few comments.
We do have a few, and
Yeah.
we'll get to those
Yeah, right.
after my list.
Yep.
All right. So I do have Anchorman,
Thank you.
and this is going to be like, it's going to be controversial to, okay, that's acceptable. Next, I got The Ringer.
Do I even know this movie?
Explain it, Nick.
When did we get ice cream?
Don't know it. Never seen it.
I don't-
If you know it, you know it. All right.
Yeah.
Then I got Naked Gun, of
Yeah.
course.
Well, hold on. You have to explain. The Ringer was Johnny Knoxville
Correct.
fakes that he's mentally
Oh
handicapped.
wow.
It's a great movie.
Okay.
Yeah. In terms of a comedy, it's up there. Yeah, I got The Naked Gun. And then I got 1985, the Clue movie. Clue.
Clue's a great movie.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think of it as a comedy, but like I can see why they're definitely comical
There's
aspects.
definitely it's actually
It's
in the genre of comedy.
Such a fun watch.
Yeah. It just means a lot. I don't know. These are all personal.
Yeah, it's great.
These are my personal. I love Clue. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Next, I got Team America: World Police.
I was going to ask this question. Thank you.
So
similar
funny.
similar to you. This is the movie I have laughed the hardest at ever of all time. I was in college freshman year. I won't forget it. Jimmy Cleveland, Tyler Clements, Randy Osterman, Austin Felice, Sam Willis. We're all in this dorm room watching it together, and it was nonstop laughter for me. So that's
It's actually great. I wanted to bring that up with the uncut because of I was gonna you prefer that one to Team America because
Well,
they're so great.
I told Nick this yesterday because we revealed a couple of our things we liked. I said that to him. I go, I think you got to have something from the South Park guys. I agree with you. I saw that in the theater. I was in college. Same thing. I died laughing.
100%.
So I don't hate that at all.
Next, I got Borat. I'm with you with Borat. These are all movies, for me, I remember where I was when I saw them the first time. I was on a bus with a hockey team. Then I got Monty Python. I was in Colorado. Camp. Blazing Saddles.
Classic.
Mel Brooks. Got to have him. And then you guys didn't mention this one. Step Brothers.
It's on my list.
Very funny movie. I think it probably goes in that tier of the
The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Hangover.
Yeah, it's in that sort of era.
Used to smoke pot with John Hopkins.
I remember liking it a lot.
I do too. It's a good movie. But I personally, I don't put it on the level of those five I mentioned. Old School, Hangover, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Superbad, and Bridesmaids.
I think what you're talking about, if you have to have some like a Will Ferrell movie in there, for me, I got to go Anchorman first. I don't think Will Ferrell, who I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
occupy 2 spots on the my list, but my God, Anchorman for me.
So if you're gonna go Talladega or Step Brothers, where do you go?
I mean, you got Farrell and John C. Reilly in both.
I need to rewatch both of those again.
And then
Both great. Both amazing.
and my last movie on my list. Surely You Can't Be Serious. Airplane.
I think Airplane almost. It's not on my list because I think some of these movies I see the time like it was before my era. Whereas C. Martin is one of my comedy heroes, and so I watch The Jerk and think about it so fondly.
So this is my take on those Zuckerberg movies. I rewatched all of them in the last couple years, in the last year actually. They hold up, man. And like you know me, I like the slapstick,
Me too.
and obviously we both like Dumb and Dumber.
Yep.
Just that genre of comedy is so funny to me. Now let me add one that none of us have mentioned that I have on my list in the quote unquote Andy Ruther 25 wheelhouse. Office Space. What are our takes on Mike Judge's Office Space?
I'd have to see it again. It's been a while.
Great.
Yeah.
It's fun. That's a great movie. It's funny because I think all of our lists go to movies that feel some of the humor in Office Space is a little subtler. Like
Sure.
So it seems like our lists we like lean towards these like for the comedies like the gut busting,
Yeah.
laugh out loud, like drooling down the mouth. First time we see it, experiences, which Office Space doesn't have, but Office Space is very quotable, very rewatchable, and an amazing movie.
So if we could go to the YouTube comments now, that'd
Yeah.
be great. All right, so we got Gavin asking if Austin Powers is even worthy of top 10. Can we put this to rest?
It's not top 50 for me.
Thank you.
Not top 50.
No.
Zach Boast, Pineapple Express or Superbad?
Well, I said Superbad. To me, I think Superbad is way funnier than Pineapple Express. That's just my take.
I'll roll that.
Holden Andrews, no John Candy movies?
Man, that's a fair point.
And Gavin
I
also.
think that would be Planes, Trains, and Automobiles probably be the one for me. I do have a soft spot in my heart for Home Alone, which I don't think is necessarily like a comedy, but like John Candy does make that list. Uncle Buck could be in there. I'm sure there's a million more that I'm missing, but
Cool Runnings, not really a comedy.
of course, remember watching that in the theaters. But yeah,
Man.
I think it's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a classic.
So the crossover, what's the crossover all three of us had? Naked Gun. What else?
I think I had 3 with you,
Anchorman?
and I had a couple
we also
with
had
you.
Anchorman.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't have Anchorman, though, in my top 10.
We didn't.
No.
We also have 25.
Yeah, I basically said,
That's fair. Anchorman did Anchorman make top 25?
did I not put that on there?
Wow.
Incredible.
Any other people throwing some?
We got a nomination for Little Fockers.
Wow. Of all in that series, Little Fockers.
It's got to be the first one. Meet the Parents.
Of course.
And I'll vouch for this as well. Zoolander.
Great.
Yeah. Ben Stiller's a comedic genius. I mean, see, this is what happens. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do, in my opinion. You got to say, all right, we're choosing one Mel Brooks movie. We're choosing one David Zucker movie. We're choosing one Ben Stiller movie. One Adam Sandler movie. One Will Ferrell movie. I think that's kind of the way you do it. Maybe the easiest way. And then you debate that.
I mean, there's some rumors out there that Dirtball Madness is not happening this year. I think maybe in lieu of that, we do the 64, the March Madness of comedies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great because for anybody, if there's still a crossover, when I used to write for Dirty Pop, I brought that. We used to do our March Madness brackets, but they loved it so much, we just kept doing it all year. Where I'd bring one segment like that, and we'd break down, best rock band of the 90s, or like this, best comedy, best SNL cast member. I love this.
It's funny to think about because some of these movies. Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Like you, and we always talk about like there's not enough funny movies out there, but there's like 100. I mean, it's amazing how funny these
And
movies are all
doing
time.
this list and looking back on these movies and doing a Google search, I have to say, it genuinely got me excited. Like, got excited at the thought of rewatching these movies, or watching these movies with Nick for the first time since he's younger. I mean, I specifically remember, I told his dad this last night, I'll never forget the first time I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I was, I don't know, like 12 or 13. My mom would never have let me watch that. We were on vacation at this island in South Carolina my family used to go to, Fripp Island in South Carolina. My parents went to bed. My brother Brad goes, all right, we're going to watch this movie. There's sex in it. There's nudity. There's stuff Mom would want you to see. You want to watch it? You can't tell anybody. And I just remember watching it and being like, holy shit, but how funny. Sean Penn's character, Spicoli, and Mr. Hand, the teacher, I mean, just everything.
There's all these like funny early comedies. Like when you're young, you kind of see them and they're a little edgy, like Fast Times. For me, it was Kentucky Fried Movie.
Zucker.
I mean, or just like this sort of slightly. You shouldn't be watching this right now, should you? It's fun to remember. Like that's the power of a movie, and then it's just going to the theater and be like, I haven't laughed like that in a long time. It's an amazing, an amazing thing.
Like I remember something about like that's the thing. These movies, I remember seeing that in high school, and even just a scene people probably don't remember. They go to the rest stop, and Ben Stiller trips and falls in the bushes, and it's a bunch of gay men having sex, and the one guy says, "Hey, wait your turn." Like there was a line of just casual sex that happened with men in the bushes and truckers, and it was just so ridiculous. Or I remember going to see Happy Gilmore with my brothers and just laughing so hard. Like none of us had Ace Ventura.
That's crazy.
Think about that.
That's funny. Yeah. It's interesting because I'm a person that likes to go to movies by myself. Like I have no problem going to a movie by myself. I prefer going to movies when they're less crowded, but comedies whenever you catch like it's like so great to go to a full theater, and like you're just comfortable unless Andy Ruther is in the room.
They're like, shut that guy up. You know what I should have for a side gig? I should be laugh tracks.
You should,
because I laugh a lot, and I think I have a pretty big laugh, and oh my god.
Well, thanks for indulging me. I just thought it would be a fun topic, and it was circulating my feed with all these sports personalities.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, Dirtballs, we didn't get the calls today, but if you do have something to contribute, give us a call at 310-359-8365. We will be back on Thursday with Joe, and we will get to the calls then. It's been a fun show.
Great show. I just want to do a quick shout out to, we didn't mention this, and I wanted to, David Ayers. The emergency goalie.
Oh, yeah.
Just quickly, for this, my lead for story of the year, I learned something. NHL, there's emergency goalies in the arena, and they play for whoever needs them. Doesn't matter if it's the home team or the away team. I think that's so interesting. He lives in Toronto. He works for the minor league team. He knows the Maple Leaf players.
The Zamboni driver.
He's a Zamboni driver.
He was wearing a helmet, a Maple Leaf helmet, while he played for the Canes.
Yeah, he knows everyone on the other team, goes and beats them. I think that's an incredible story.
I agree.
What a weird quirk. Had a kidney transplant 15 years ago.
I followed up on it, too.
Has one win in the NHL.
First win in emergency goalie history.
No.
The Blackhawks guy won. I thought
first credited win.
Yeah.
Someone else was.
Well, he's the oldest. He's also I read up on it. He's the oldest player to win making his debut in the NHL.
Oh, okay.
So that's the stat on it.
Just such a cool story. And if you guys haven't seen the bit where the coach, Rob Brendan Moore, comes in and sort of congratulates them, and they dump water on him.
Yeah.
Like it's an awesome story.
I think it's great. I knew the emergency goalie thing was, a thing for the NHL. I didn't know until I read the story that he was the guy for either team.
I know. I think that's very interesting because it's like, you guys, the benches are so deep in most of these teams, like these sports, and not hockey.
Speaking of a comedy, there's a comedy there.
Slapshot, right?
I had that on my list.
It was on the list
as mentionable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen Slapshot.
Well, maybe we'll do the Dirty Sports watches.
So at this point, Nick, Tug's going to come over. We're going to do another March Madness, just so everybody knows. I'll announce that ahead of time, 3 weeks in advance. We're going to do a live March Madness. We're going to do live watching movies. I might need to get a second bed for Tug in here.
Listen, it'll be tough getting away from my kids, but I have to do it.
We definitely have enough TVs.
We'll make it happen. Well, that's the show. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff at The Dirty Sports. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Yeah, you guys know the drill. Leave iTunes reviews. Leave that Twitter and Instagram handle. Follow me at Andy Ruther, Tug Coker.
Yep.
Where can they follow you?
At Tug Coker on both Twitter and Instagram. Thank you, Andy, Nick, and Joe, as always, for having me on the show. Thanks to the Dirtballs out there. I appreciate all the support as I try to make and create things for you to enjoy.
Yeah, that's right. And go follow Joe at Fix Your Life on Twitter and at Joe Praino on Instagram. And go to his website if you want to see Joe live at joepraino.com. Nikki D, I know you got things popping over there. What's happening?
Nick Dale on Twitter at Nick DAIE. Also, Zach Bose is asking about this Dirty Sports gaming community. Guys, my dad came. He brought my Xbox. The Twitch is coming. Keep an eye out for it.
Love it. All right, Dirtballs. Thanks for everybody for supporting us. Again, hit those what is it?
It's the bell icon. Post notifications.
On YouTube. So that way you know when we go live. Because guess what? We go live on the spot. You never know. We're like that animal that's watching you, and we're going to attack you with that live video, fam. Terrible analogy. But that's the show. Thanks, Dirtballs. Much love, and most importantly, stay dirty.